Hello, and welcome to the pitching webinar for Chapman University's California Dreamin' Business Plan Competition. We hope that you will find these webinars entertaining and useful as you prepare for eventual success in the competition. As a budding entrepreneur, you'll be called upon at many points in your career to pitch your business. This may be for friends and family as potential investors. This might be to future employees. This may be to the angel communities, VC, or corporate investors and potential partners. Next, we're going to discuss the elements of a great pitch. You need to leave them with the anticipation and the ability to accurately describe your venture. There is no right or wrong answer to the question, what should be included in my pitch? There is no one single answer. The pitch is yours. Focus on what differentiates your venture, what makes it unique or special, and what makes it an attractive investment opportunity. I'm going to read through the next two slides. The first is an excellent opening pitch. The second slide will go through the reasons why this opening statement is so brilliant. So here goes. I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is the New England Journal of Medicine reports that for the first time in U.S. history, this current generation of children will have a shorter lifespan than their parents. Unhealthy snacks have fueled an epidemic of childhood obesity and have prompted state governments to ban junk foods in schools. I am Jerry Adams, president of Zangaro Fun Foods, and the good news is we've invented Pizzettos, a pizza-based snack chip that children love because they taste deliciously unhealthy and that school officials delight in knowing it's perfectly healthy. In our first month of sales, we were scrambling to meet orders for local school districts and have nationwide orders for the fall. Zangaro's management team has strong management experience in food science and business and is looking for $250,000 from investors who want to share in Zangaro's visions of making fun foods healthy and healthy foods fun. Are you one of those? Excellent pitch. So let's examine why this opening statement is so brilliant. She starts off with an audience grabber. Our kids are expected to have shorter lifespans. That certainly sets the table. And then she narrows in on the problem, unhealthy snacks in schools. With very few words, everyone is already completely understanding the problem and that her venture is addressing this problem. Equally crisply, she posits the solution, a snack chip that children love because they taste deliciously unhealthy. Note the clever turn of phrase, taste deliciously unhealthy. Then she moves to the results, scrambling to fill orders. They don't yet have enough sufficient revenues to talk about, but she positions that they have very compelling revenues coming up. Talk about team experience in general terms, but with what has already been said, there's enough to whet an investor's appetite. She closes strong with a good vision statement and asks for the order. Are you one of those? Combined with passionate and crisp delivery, this pitch clearly stood out and got the highest marks and best audience response. An elevator pitch should answer three fundamental questions: who you are and what are you doing? Why should I care, both as an investor and as an individual? And how will you win? And most importantly, how much money are you going to need to succeed? The elevator pitch should be the first slide in your PowerPoint and the lead paragraph in your executive summary. You have to keep it simple. Unless your audience can explain your venture to somebody else, you've lost them entirely. Do you think any investors ever tell their associates or spouses, hey, I saw this great company today, but I haven't a clue what they do? Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the words that you may use in your pitch. Exclude all the fluff and hype. Words such as unique, revolutionary, best, fastest don't tell me anything. However, priced 40% below the market leader tells me something concise and something specific that I can hang my hat on. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about some suggestions for the different slides that you can include in your pitch. Do not use your slides to tell the whole story. They are the roadmap. Your team will tell the story. Clutter or too many words on a slide is very distracting. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, so use them. The presentation should rely on the individuals in the team to make that compelling case. Get your audience to focus on the team and not on reading the slides. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the introductory slide, as this is where your branding is going to begin. You'll show your company name and logo and maybe even a slogan if you're using one. If you'd like to do a demo during your presentation, we strongly encourage practice ahead of time. Technical difficulties with a demonstration or a video during your pitch time can waste very valuable moments. You may also choose to include the names and contact information of the presenters here. However, that may best be preserved for the end of the presentation. I'm now going to go through the executive summary, which is where you're really going to grab your audience. This is why you're going to tell them why they are spending their time listening to this pitch. Summarize briefly what your company does, emphasizing the unique qualities of your product line, but without much comparison to the competition just yet. That's going to come later. Explain where your product fits in with the whole solution to the customer's needs. Identify whether or not your customer will see your products as being the main component of the solution or just simply a portion of it. So pain is one of those overused words in pitching. But here you're going to describe the pain which exists in the market. Give a couple of examples and relate to just what unfair advantage you and your product has for relieving this pain. Some of the important points for you to cover are: how do you know that there is indeed real pain? You're going to further explain your understanding of the needs in the market and really dwell on this point. What will be the ROI, the return on investment of the customers, and how fast will those customers recoup that investment? That's really known as the value proposition. How will you protect your product from becoming a commodity? Okay. We're now going to describe the solution that you and your team are providing. You're going to describe it in very simple terms, clearly and concisely. You're going to very distinctly identify the key benefits and features for customers, the product design template, and the timeline for development. Again, remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a nice timeline graph would probably do nicely here. One of the most important discussions is the business model. An execution of a business model describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures all of the value. You're going to explain how you're going to make money, and it needs to be incredibly clear. What is that value to the customer? Business models enable new products and technologies and help solve entirely new customer problems. Next, we're going to move on to the market overview. This is where you will define the characteristics of the companies or consumers that really need the solution. You're going to need to quantify the number of prospects that have this need and explain how the market is growing and why. Identify the important 2 to 3 segments of the market for each and estimate the market size, customers, and potential sales. What distinguishes these key segments from the broad market and also from each other? Now that you've quantified your market, we're now going to address how you're going to get to those customers. So briefly explain the expected selling cycle. Describe how you propose to reach your targeted customers, focusing on those initial market segments that you highlighted earlier. Marketing is used to raise awareness of your customers and for your product and stimulate their interest in buying. Sales to give buyers and buying decision makers a convenient way to find out the details and place that very important order. And then support to help customers understand your product before buying, during installation, and of course during use. If you're going to rely on channels here, then you need to explain. You need to explain your approach of reaching those channels and whose responsibility is to raise awareness and generate demand among end customers. Will that be yours or will that be that of the channel? And who's going to provide that pre and post sales support? Describe any special sales incentives or selling partnerships if you have any. A misunderstanding of all the costs involved in producing a product or a service could be the downfall or financial ruin of any startup company, so please pay attention to those. How are you going to develop that product or service, and what are those costs, both direct and indirect? You really need to understand your COGS, or cost of goods sold. You need to understand your competitive pricing analysis as well, both from a cost perspective, if that information is obtainable, as well as the competitive price. And you need to understand that cost of goods sold to your customer price. That's going to be your margin, and that's where you're going to make money. We'll now move on to the financial information. Financial strategy is the topic for 2 additional webinars in this series. Hopefully you'll have the time to view these webinars as they present extremely valuable information. The financial information can be presented concisely in one slide. You need to leave the viewers with the understanding of how you will make a profit and what are your financial projections moving forward. The better understanding you have of your numbers, the better you will understand your business, and that will always come across. Competition. There is always competition. One of the biggest pitching mistakes is to get up in front of an audience and state that I have no competition. You'll need to put a chart together that very clearly and concisely demonstrates your competitive position. You also need to address the 3 barriers to adoption. Typically, those are the big dogs, the huge, well-known companies that have existing products and established relationships with your target customers. And how are these big dogs going to react to your initiatives? Inertia. What is it going to take to get customers to change what they're using or how they're doing business today? And innovators. Are there any companies out there that might leapfrog your solution with equal or better solutions? Explain how you propose to win against the best of these. And in particular, describe your strongest barriers to competition, such as patent protection. If you're successful, how do you plan on blocking the better known or better funded competitors from moving in and taking over? Okay. It's now time to present your management team. Why do you have the right team? Most investors invest in the team, and you need to present the reasons why this team is going to win. You're going to describe any areas of weakness in your management team and strategies that you're going to use to fill those key and critical positions. And lastly, you need to share your advisory board if you have one in place. Not every company will have an environmental or social impact. If you do, you should present it as a part of your pitch. What is the impact of your product or service on the environment? And is it going to have a positive social impact? Describe the values of the company and how those are interwoven with this social or environmental impact. And finally, you've come to your conclusion. Wrap it all up. What are the next steps and where are you going? Keep in mind that this conclusion is the last slide that stays up on the screen as you entertain questions. So please be careful of what you leave up there and make it the most impactful. Describe the 3 to 5 year goals of the business. Identify the several most important steps needed to reach that goal. Specifically say what you need to do to achieve positive cash flow and how long is it going to take to get there. Identify exit strategies such as an IPO or acquisition readiness, and place some of the key steps possibly on a Gantt chart or some other milestone graphic. Explain your development status and how much work is going to remain in order to get to the product or service to full functionality. Backup slides are not a requirement, but they are strongly recommended. Be prepared by anticipating different questions from the audience and prepare 1 topic per slide. Keep them simple and accessible. And finally, just a few quick tips as you create your pitch. Speak slowly. Explain why you chose this opportunity and practice. Don't memorize. Always talk customer. We've identified the customer and they want our product or service. What is your secret sauce? Keep them wanting and asking for that secret sauce. And then, of course, your team. As we mentioned before, investors invest in a team. We can do this. We can create this product because of your team. And show passion. If you don't show passion for your product, who's going to? Passion is perhaps the most overriding aspect of your delivery of your pitch. And the conclusion and next steps. How are you going to drive this to success? Thank you very much for listening to this webinar. We hope that you found it useful, and best of luck in the competition.